Assalamu alaikum. My name is Weedy from Expose Academy. In this video, we will discuss how to edit selections in Krita. A bit of a disclaimer here. What you are hearing now is not my actual voice. For several reasons, I have to use a professional voiceover service to replace mine. Alright. There are many techniques for controlling selections in Krita. For example, we can hold down Shift to add a selection, or hold Alt to reduce the selection, etc. But what I want to discuss in this video is not these kinds of techniques. What I want to discuss now is a command in Krita called Edit Selection. You can access it by opening the Select menu, then selecting this option, Edit Selection. Or you can also access it through the right-click menu. But you need to remember that if you want to use the right-click method, make sure you activate one of the selection tools. It doesn't matter which tool, as long as it is a selection tool. If you right-click, you can find the Edit Selection command here. Now, if you click on it, you will get a screen filled with a red color overlay, like this, in the area where there is no selection. Essentially, this is what we are going to discuss in this video. In the meantime, if you want to return to the standard mode, you can open the Select menu again, then, deactivate the Show Global Selection Mask option. Then, to deselect or clear the selection, you can press Ctrl-Shift-A on the keyboard. Before we get into the selection editing techniques, you need to know that in Krita, the selection is divided into two types, the raster type selection and the vector type selection. What many people don't know or realize is that by default, the selection in Krita is mostly a vector type, not raster. In Krita, there are 8 tools that we can use to make selections. From the rectangular selection tool to the magnetic curve selection tool. So, if you notice, we can tell a selection tool icon by the dotted line symbol on them. Now, of these 8 tools, only 2 tools produce pure raster type selections, namely, the contiguous selection tool and the similar color selection tool. As for the others, by default, they will create vector type selections. Indeed, we can also set these tools to create a raster type selection, and that is, by activating the pixel selection mode here. But for now, let's use the default mode, which is vector selection. So, because there are 2 types of selection in Krita, we can also divide the way we edit the selection into 2 different techniques: vector techniques and raster techniques. Let's discuss each of them one by one. First, let's focus on editing the vector selection. For this, of course, we need a vector type selection. As an example, we can use the polygonal selection tool. Make sure it is in vector mode. Then make a random shape selection on the canvas. If we use the Edit Selection command, this is what happens. Krita will activate the Select Shapes tool, and this selection shape will be surrounded by a transformation box. This tool is one of the vector tools in Krita. We use this tool to select and perform transformations on vector objects. In this condition, you can change the position of the selection by dragging on the area inside the transformation box. You need to remember that what we're doing now is editing the shape of the selection, not the image inside the selection area. You can also scale this selection shape by dragging on the control points around the transformation box. If you want to scale uniformly, or in other words, keeping the width to height ratio fixed, you can perform scale while holding down the Shift key. Next, you can also rotate the selection shape by moving the mouse cursor close to one of the control points in the corner. Not touching them, just get close to them. When you see a circular arrow symbol appear, you can drag to rotate the selection shape. If you move the mouse cursor to a control point other than the corners, but one that is in the middle of the line, this will activate the skew mode. Basically, with this, we can skew or tilt the selection shape. Alright. Apart from transformation, because basically the current selection shape is a vector object, you can activate the second vector tool called the Edit Shapes tool. With this tool, you can change the position of the points and/or the curvature of the line segments that make up the vector object. It would be too long to cover all the vector editing techniques in this video. If you are serious about graphics and want to learn more about these vector techniques, You can join my online course on Udemy or Skillshare. This course covers in depth the use of vector techniques to create illustrations quickly. In this online course, apart from editing selections, you will also learn to use vectors to build base colors. And also use them to quickly create outlines or line art. After you finish editing the shape, to return to the standard mode, you can open the Select menu, then deactivate the Show Global Selection Mask option. An alternative way is to use the right-click menu. But for this, again, you need to activate one of the selection tools. For example, the rectangular selection tool. Then right-click. Then select the Show Global Selection Mask option. Because I often need to access this option, I have set a custom shortcut on my computer, that is, Shift-G, to activate and deactivate the Show Global Selection Mask option. Alright. So, that is how we can edit a vector type selection. Now, let's discuss how to edit a raster type selection. For this, of course, we need to create a raster selection first. We can use the polygonal selection tool again, but now, we activate the pixel selection mode. With this, the tool will create a raster type selection. Just create a random shape selection on the canvas. Now, we can try the Edit Selection command again. As you can see, instead of using the Edit Shapes tool, Krita now activates the Transform tool. From here we can conclude that the Select Shapes tool is for vector, while the Transform tool is for raster. The advantage of the raster type selection is that there are many features available in terms of transformation or distortion effects to be exact. So, in addition to moving, scaling, and rotation, you can apply perspective distortion, warp, cage, and other distortion techniques. Again, this video is too short to cover all the distortion features available in Krita. If you are done, you can return to the standard mode by disabling Show Global Selection Mask again. For now, let's activate this elliptical selection tool. Then click on this icon to activate the Add mode. This mode is similar to making a selection while holding down the Shift key. The new selection will add to the existing selection region. You may notice that I'm currently using the vector mode, not raster. This is fine, because if the previous selection is a raster type, and we use the Add mode, the final result of the selection will be raster, even though we are using the vector mode selection. The last thing that makes raster selections unique when compared to vector selections, is that we can edit them as if we are drawing. And that is, by using the freehand brush tool, or other tools that we can use to draw in Krita. As an example, we can reactivate the Edit Selection mode. But so far, we already know that the Edit Selection mode and the Show Global Selection Mask mode are actually the same. So now, let's try to activate it via the Show Global Selection Mask option. You can see that the difference between the Edit Selection command and the Show Global Selection Mask option is only on the active tool. Previously, with the Edit Selection command, the tool that would be active was the Transform tool, or the Select Shapes tool if the selection is of the vector type. With turning on the Show Global Selection Mask directly, nothing has changed in terms of the active tool. We still have the elliptical selection tool active as before. In this condition, we can activate the Brush tool. To apply different transparency levels to the selection with the Brush tool, we can make use of grayscale colors. White will create a fully opaque selection. Black will make a fully transparent or no selection. And gray colors will make the selection area semi-transparent. Essentially, the whiter the color, the stronger the selection area will be. Meanwhile, the darker the color, the weaker the selection area will be. It might be a bit hard to see the strength of the selection visually with this red color. Alternatively, you can hold down the Alt key, then click on this special mask called the Selection Mask. This will activate the Solo mode, or the Isolate mode. In this mode, opaque selection areas will appear white. And zero, or non-selected areas, will appear black. In this mode, you can continue editing the selection with the Brush tool if you like. To exit the isolation mode, you can hold down Alt and click again on the layer. Or you can also right-click on this layer. Then select the option, Isolate Active Layer. If you are done, you can return to the normal mode, by disabling the Show Global Selection Mask option. So, that is how you edit a raster type selection. There are still many techniques related to raster selection that we haven't covered in this video. But, at least with this video, you already know the basics, so you can experiment further. We already know that there are two types of selection in Krita, and have also covered the basics for editing each of them. What we haven't covered is that Krita also lets us convert back and forth between these two types. We can change the selection from vector to raster, or vice versa from raster type to vector type. Although, personally, I don't recommend converting from raster to vector selection. You will see later why. There are several ways to perform selection conversions. The most common way is with the convert command. If you open the select menu, you will see there are two commands here: convert to vector and convert to raster. If the selection that we currently have is of the raster type, automatically, the convert to raster command becomes inactive, and the convert to vector command becomes active. Vice versa, if the current selection is of the vector type, then the convert to raster command becomes active, while the convert to vector command becomes inactive. We can also access these two commands via the right-click menu, as long as one of the selection tools is active. Let's try using the convert to vector command first. At first glance, it seems that nothing has changed. But, if we activate the Show Global Selection Mask option, then isolate this mask by holding Alt and clicking on it, we can see all the colors of the gray spectrum change to solid white. So, this is the drawback of the vector type selection. And that is, it can only contain two values, black or white. Vector selection cannot contain grayscale colors or selection with gradual strengths, unlike the raster type selection. And, if we activate the Edit Shapes tool, this is the vector shape converted from a raster selection. At the current version, Krita is not very good at converting raster selection to vector selection. You can see how the resulting vector selection has too many points. It is almost impossible to edit the shape further. Again, this is why I don't recommend converting vector selections to raster. Let's go back to normal mode. And then clear the selection. To convert a vector selection to a raster selection, the method is easier or more flexible. Because, apart from using the convert command, the conversion process can occur automatically when we apply distortion using the transform tool, or when we edit the selection using the brush tool. Just for example, we can create a rectangular selection using the vector mode. If we right-click, we can see that this selection is a vector type. If we perform edit selection, then we use the brush tool and draw some brush strokes using any color. Automatically, Krita just changed this selection to raster type. We can prove this by opening the select menu. We can see that the convert to raster command is now disabled, while the convert to vector command becomes active. So those are the basics of editing selections in Krita, both for the vector type and the raster type. Again, there are still a lot of techniques we haven't discussed in this video. If you are interested in learning Krita further, you can join my online courses on Udemy or on Skillshare. You can also open my website, exposeacademy.com, to see the list of all the online courses that I provide. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, so you don't miss future tutorials. Please share this video, and give a thumbs up if you like it. If you want to request a tutorial about Krita, just write in the comments what topic you want me to discuss. I hope this video is useful. Wassalamu alaikum.